book of Numbers, chapters 13 and 14, unfolds a tale of faith, courage, and divine promise. In the vast expanse of the wilderness of Paran, where the scorching sun beat down upon the sands, Moses stood before the assembled tribes of Israel. His weathered face, etched with the lines of leadership, gazed upon the multitude as he prepared to choose 12 men for a crucial mission. Among those selected was Caleb, son of Jephunneh, representing the tribe of Judah. As Moses' voice rang out across the camp, Caleb's heart swelled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The task before them was monumental: to spy out the land of Canaan, promised land flowing with milk and honey. Caleb's eyes met those of Joshua, another chosen spy, and a silent understanding passed between them. With determined steps, Caleb and his fellow spies set out on their journey. The terrain grew more lush as they ventured further into Canaan, a stark contrast to the barren wilderness they had left behind. Grapes hung heavy on the vines, and the air was sweet with the scent of ripe figs. Yet, as they explored the land, they also encountered formidable challenges. Cities with high walls loomed before them, and the inhabitants appeared strong and numerous. 40 days passed like a fleeting dream as Caleb and his companions traversed the length and breadth of Canaan. Their sandals were worn and their bodies weary, but their minds were filled with the wonders they had witnessed. As they returned to the Israelite camp, a cluster of grapes so massive it required 2 men to carry it on a pole between them served as a testament to the land's abundance. The spies gathered before Moses, Aaron, and the entire congregation of Israel. Excitement buzzed through the air as the people eagerly awaited news of the promised land. 10 of the spies began to recount their observations, their voices tinged with fear as they spoke of the land's inhabitants. "We are not able to go up against the people," they declared, "for they are stronger than we." A murmur of dismay rippled through the crowd. Caleb's voice rang out clear and strong, silencing the doubters. "Let us go up at once and possess it," he proclaimed, his eyes alight with unwavering faith, "for we are well able to overcome it." Joshua stood beside him, nodding in agreement. The 2 men stood firm, their belief in God's promise a beacon of hope amidst the sea of uncertainty. Despite Caleb and Joshua's impassioned plea, fear gripped the hearts of the Israelites. The night air was filled with the sound of weeping as the people bemoaned their fate, questioning why God had brought them out of Egypt only to face such insurmountable odds. Whispers of appointing a new leader and returning to Egypt spread like wildfire through the camp. Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before the assembly, their anguish palpable. Caleb and Joshua tore their clothes in distress, once again raising their voices above the tumult. "The land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land," they declared, their words a desperate attempt to rekindle the people's faith. "The Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us." But the congregation would not be swayed. In their fear and anger, they called for Caleb and Joshua to be stoned. Just as the situation seemed poised to explode into violence, the glory of the Lord appeared at the tabernacle of meeting. A hush fell over the camp as God's presence manifested, his voice thundering with disappointment and judgment. The consequences of the people's lack of faith would be severe. 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, 1 year for each day the spies had explored Canaan. As the weight of God's judgment settled upon the camp, a somber silence enveloped the Israelites. The air, once filled with excited anticipation, now hung heavy with regret and sorrow. Amidst this atmosphere of despair, Caleb stood tall, his faith unshaken. The Lord's voice resonated once more, singling out Caleb and Joshua for their unwavering trust. "But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it," God declared. These words of promise ignited a spark of hope in Caleb's heart, a beacon to guide him through the long years ahead. As the rest of his generation faced the grim reality of perishing in the wilderness, Caleb clung to the assurance of God's faithfulness. The following decades unfolded like a tapestry of trials and perseverance. Caleb watched as his contemporaries gradually succumbed to the harsh desert conditions, their dreams of the promised land forever unfulfilled. Yet he remained steadfast, his spirit undiminished by the passing years. Each step through the wilderness was a testament to his enduring faith. Each day an opportunity to instill that same unwavering trust in the younger generation rising around him. 40 years passed, feeling both like an eternity and a fleeting moment. The wilderness had claimed an entire generation, leaving only Caleb, Joshua, and those who had been children during the Exodus. As they stood on the threshold of Canaan once more, Caleb's heart swelled with anticipation. His hair may have grayed, and his face bore the lines of years spent under the desert sun, but his eyes still sparkled with the same determination that had marked him as a faithful spy 4 decades earlier. The conquest of Canaan began in earnest, with Joshua leading the Israelites from victory to victory. Throughout the campaign, Caleb's valor shone brightly, his strength seemingly undiminished by age. As the land was gradually subdued and divided among the tribes, Caleb approached Joshua with a bold request. His voice, clear and resolute, rang out across the assembly gathered at Gilgal. "You know the word which the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea." Caleb reminded Joshua, "And now here I am this day, 85 years old. As yet I am as strong this day as on the day that Moses sent me. Just as my strength was then, so now is my strength for war, both for going out and for coming in." With these words, Caleb laid claim to the promise made to him by God so many years ago. Joshua's face broke into a wide smile as he listened to his old friend and fellow spy. Without hesitation, he blessed Caleb and granted him Hebron as his inheritance. But Caleb's journey was far from over. Hebron, nestled in the hill country of Judah, was still inhabited by the fearsome Anakim, descendants of giants who had struck terror into the hearts of the other spies 45 years earlier. Undaunted by the challenge before him, Caleb rallied his family and his tribe. "The Lord will be with me," he declared, his voice ringing with confidence, "and I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said." With unwavering faith and indomitable courage, Caleb led the charge against Hebron. Clash of swords and the battle cries echoed through the hills as the men of Judah engaged the Anakim in fierce combat. True to his word and fueled by divine strength, Caleb drove out the 3 sons of Anak, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. The city of Hebron fell to his forces, testament to the power of faith and the fulfillment of God's promises. As Caleb stood atop the conquered city, surveying the land that was now his inheritance, he reflected on the long journey that had brought him to this moment. From a spy filled with hope to a warrior claiming his promised land, Caleb's life stood as a beacon of faithfulness for generations to come. With Hebron secured, Caleb's influence continued to shape the destiny of his people. His unwavering faith had not only earned him his inheritance, but also inspired those around him. As he settled into his new home, Caleb's reputation as a man of God spread throughout the region. Many sought his counsel, eager to learn from one who had witnessed both the miracles of the Exodus and the fulfillment of God's promises in Canaan. Caleb's family flourished in the land he had conquered. His daughter, Aksa, proved to be as bold and faithful as her father. When she married Othniel, Caleb's nephew, she approached Caleb with a request for additional land. Impressed by her initiative, Caleb blessed her with both upper and lower springs, ensuring the prosperity of future generations. This act of generosity reflected Caleb's understanding that the blessings he had received were meant to be shared and multiplied. As the years passed, Caleb became a living legend among the Israelites. His story was told around campfires and in family gatherings, a powerful reminder of the rewards of trusting in God's promises. Young warriors looked to him as an example of courage and perseverance, while elders respected him as a link to their nation's formative years. Caleb's legacy was not just in the land he possessed, but in the indelible mark he left on the spiritual landscape of Israel. The impact of Caleb's faithfulness extended far beyond his immediate family and tribe. His unwavering trust in God's promises became a cornerstone of Israel's national identity. In times of hardship or doubt, people would recall the story of Caleb, the spy who stood firm when others faltered, the warrior who claimed his inheritance at an age when most men sought rest. Caleb's influence was particularly evident in the way future generations approached challenges. When faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles, leaders would invoke Caleb's spirit, reminding the people that with God on their side, no enemy was too strong, no wall too high. His life became a touchstone for faith, a historical precedent that bolstered Israel's courage in times of war and fortified their trust in times of peace. Even in his later years, Caleb remained active in shaping the nation's future. He took a keen interest in the education of the young, ensuring that the lessons of faith and obedience he had learned were passed down. Under his guidance, Hebron became known not just as a stronghold, but as a center of learning and spiritual growth. People came from far and wide to hear the wisdom of the man who had seen the fulfillment of God's promise firsthand. As Caleb approached the end of his long and illustrious life, he gathered his family and close companions around him. His eyes, though dimmed with age, still held the fire of unwavering faith that had defined his entire journey. With a voice that carried the weight of decades of experience, he shared his final thoughts and blessings. "Remember," he said, his words carrying across the attentive crowd, "that the Lord our God is faithful to his promises. I have seen his mighty hand at work, from the plagues of Egypt to the conquering of this land. Let my life stand as a testament to his unfailing love and power." Caleb's words resonated deeply with all who heard them, etching themselves into the hearts and minds of those present. As news of Caleb's passing spread throughout Israel, a period of mourning ensued. Yet, this sorrow was tempered by a sense of celebration for a life well lived, a race well run. People of Israel recognized that with Caleb's death, an era had come to an end. However, they also understood that the principles he stood for, faith, courage, and unwavering trust in God, would continue to guide and inspire future generations. Caleb's story, a shining example of the rewards of steadfast belief, became an integral part of Israel's spiritual heritage, a beacon of hope for all who would face their own giants in the years to come.